Welcome to today's explainer. We are going to completely flip the script on how you handle those exhausting people who just can't stop talking about themselves. You know exactly the type I mean, right? You run into them at work, maybe in your friend group, or honestly, even in your own family. They drain your energy, they hijack every single topic, and they leave you feeling totally unheard. But today, we're going to transform you from a drained victim into a strategic observer. So let's dive right in.
We're going to start with this incredibly powerful proverb. Those who open their mouths give information, those who listen gain it. This really brilliantly captures the hidden, fundamental truth about who actually holds the power in every single interaction. I mean, we tend to think the loudest person, the one completely dominating the airwaves, is the one in control. But as you'll see today, the exact opposite is true.
So I want to ask you this. Have you ever noticed someone blinking rapidly the very second you start talking? Like, you finally get a word in, you start your sentence, and suddenly their eyes just start fluttering, they're blinking rapidly, almost uncontrollably. What do you think is actually happening there? Well, this specific, involuntary physical tell is your absolute first major clue that you are dealing with a conversation hijacker.
To break that all down, here's our tactical briefing for today's explainer. We'll be covering 1. The signs of conversation hijackers. 2. The psychology of self-talkers. 3. Why listeners hold power. 4. Smart boundaries and strategies. And 5. The power of human analysis.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, Signs of Conversation Hijackers. And let's decode that bizarre blinking behavior.
So, that rapid blinking, yeah, it definitely isn't them deeply listening to you. It's actually an unconscious, physical manifestation of their impatience. They literally have an uncontrollable urge to steal back the speaking turn. They don't want a back-and-forth conversation. They aren't looking to play catch. They just want to keep throwing their own ball at you over and over. When you start talking, they become visibly restless, just waiting for the exact millisecond they can jump back in. Recognizing this physical cue is your very first step to stepping right out of their trap.
Moving on to Section 2, the psychology of self-talkers. Let's look at what's actually driving this super annoying behavior beneath the surface.
Okay, the absolute most crucial point is right here. It's not about the conversation. It's a starvation for approval. People who constantly monologue have this intense, deeply unmet need to be seen as interesting, impressive, or highly valued. They're using the conversation purely as a stage to get evaluated and validated. Any interest they show in you is entirely secondary. And once you realize this, their behavior completely stops feeling like a personal insult. It starts looking like what it really is. Just a symptom of their own internal anxiety.
So I want you to try this perspective shift. Instead of getting angry or frustrated, just tell yourself, okay, this person is in a state of need right now. By understanding their deep hunger for approval, your frustration gets instantly replaced by an objective, quiet analysis of their psychological weakness. You stop being the target of their ego, and you become a researcher just observing their behavior. This is the secret to not letting them drain your emotional energy.
Which brings us to Section 3, Why Listeners Hold Power. This concept completely dismantles the myth that the loudest person controls the room.
When you break it down like this, it's so incredibly clear why the strategic high ground belongs entirely to the listener. Think about it. The speaker opens their mouth, they give away information, and they completely expose their hand. The listener keeps quiet, gathers intel, and totally protects their own weaknesses. When someone has a really loose tongue, they're basically blindly showing you all of their cards, while you get to keep yours safely hidden away.
And seriously, just look at what the speaker accidentally reveals. While they think they are totally dominating the chat, they are actually handing you a silver platter of valuable intelligence. I mean, they expose their deep-seated values, their unconscious habits, and all their hidden anxieties. You'll start noticing internal contradictions in their stories, and their personal weaknesses will just become glaringly obvious to you. If you want to play it smart, strategically limiting your own word count is highly effective.
But we need to make a really vital distinction here. Notice the stark difference between flattery and a joyful listening posture. Being a strategic listener absolutely does not mean silently suffering. It's about being the lubricant for the conversation. But please, don't confuse this with flattery. Flattery is an exhausting, forced act. A joyful listening posture, on the other hand, is an effortless habit born from your own personal leeway and mental margin. If you try to constantly flatter a toxic talker, you're going to burn out for sure. But if you just maintain an upbeat, curious listening posture, it becomes totally natural for you, all while keeping them talking and revealing more. Let's head into Section 4, Smart Boundaries and Strategies, where we'll cover how to practically apply this when you're actually trapped with a toxic or arrogant talker. So what do? Just follow these 3 simple steps. First, withhold your own information and opinions, especially in front of someone who's trying to size you up or act superior. Sharing your thoughts with them is literally just giving them ammunition. Second, give them ample space to keep right on talking. And third, quietly observe their true nature and their weaknesses. By effectively sealing your own urge to speak, you're letting them happily dig their own hole while you safely protect your own thoughts.
But you might be wondering, what if they literally never ask about you? Well, I want you to frame it exactly like this. Treat this conversation in balance as a form of education. Look, a healthy conversation is a balance, right? If they refuse to balance it or even show annoyance when you finally speak, you have absolutely zero obligation to try and force a real connection. Frame your silence as a boundary. Let them talk, don't interrupt, and treat the whole thing as a fascinating lesson in human behavior. This mindset just completely lifts the emotional weight right off your shoulders.
When you do this, you achieve something pretty amazing. You actually transform the chronic talker into a highly valuable source for data collection. Instead of dreading their presence, you actually start feeling kind of grateful for the free information they're providing. They just become this totally fascinating subject for human analysis. You can learn so much about human psychology, desire, and how communication gets distorted just by letting them run their mouth.
And that brings us to our final section, number 5, the power of human analysis. This is where it all builds into the ultimate mastery of human relations.
Take a look at this. This is the ultimate paradigm shift happening right here. When you're constantly drained by others, it's usually because you're taking their words as direct attacks, which leads to that immediate emotional reaction of, ugh, I hate this. But when you step back and analyze them, you shift to a calm observation. Ah, I see. Wow, this is incredibly interesting. You finally realize their behavior is 100% about them, not about you. That shift from raw emotion to detached observation is absolutely your strongest shield.
Because ultimately, what you're observing here is simply a lack of development. Recognizing that immaturity changes everything. They lack the mental margin to actually listen, they're entirely consumed by their own needs, they are literally just still in a developing stage of emotional maturity. True maturity comes with the capacity to receive others, So by recognizing that their inability to listen is just a sign of mental immaturity rather than malice, you take away their power to sway your emotions. You remain calm, you remain collected, and you stay completely in control of your own boundaries.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Knowing who actually holds all the cards, who will truly control your next conversation. The very next time someone starts rapid blinking and launching into a monologue about themselves, are you going to get frustrated and just be their victim? Or are you going to step back, keep your cards hidden, and become their strategic observer? The choice and all the power is entirely yours.